Yankee spring training is underway. This is a mini episode with 5 things that you need to know. Welcome to Empire State Sports Report, where we talk everything New York Giants, New York Yankees, and New York Mets. And because we're in spring training, we're doing mini episodes. So this is just going to be about 10 minutes or less, covering off on 5 things that you need to know that have happened at Yankees spring training thus far. My name is Adrianna. I'm your host. Let's go ahead and get right into it, because the number one thing you need to know is that this Yankees team is already falling apart due to injuries. And I'm slightly exaggerating on the falling apart, but the injuries thing is not an exaggeration, because there has been a lot of talk about Giancarlo Stanton, his issues with his elbows. Then he was in New York. He was in New York for getting a second opinion or getting looked at, but then he was also in New York for a personal matter. And then we don't really know what's going on with the elbow. Then there's been confusion. Maybe he going to retire? No one knows. Okay. But this is the most recent update on Giancarlo Stanton from yesterday. The Yankees announced that Stanton is still in New York attending to a personal matter. He received PRP injections in both elbows and will begin the season on the IL. The team expects him to return to Tampa this coming week. Now, for anyone who's going to go and be like, oh, Stan's always injured, blah, 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 blah. He does have his injuries. Yes, it's part of the game. It is what it is. However, he has never missed an opening day for the Yankees. And I think that in his entire MLB career, he's only missed one opening day. So I know it's this narrative that he's useless because he's injured all the time, but he really has not missed an opening day for the Yankees ever. So this is kind of a big deal. And honestly, it really sucks big time. And, the biggest question that I think we all have is, how is it going to affect the lineup? But I'm not done with the injuries, because we need to talk about DJ LeMahieu. DJ LeMahieu tweaked a calf muscle during his second at-bat today, and this was yesterday, Saturday. We'll see what we have. It's at least a little concerning. So, surprise, surprise, there are injuries dealing with the Yankees, and I'm not done, because I am going to pull up some more notes that I have, because reliever Scott Efros is out with a grade 2 hamstring strain after he threw one pitch. This is like the Giants. The New York injuries are unbelievable. Okay. So that's the second thing, is now he is also injured. So the injuries with the Yankees are a bit of a mess, but it is what it is. So that all wraps up. 1 and 2 things that you need to know about the Yankees is that the injuries are a disaster, and we're going to see how things go. But there are some good things coming out of spring training, and those are going to be the 3 things that we cover off on next. Number 1, Will Warren has looked great so far in his start with the Yankees. He is a pitcher for the team, and he's been getting a lot of time during spring training. This is the practice time, and we want to see guys like this. We haven't seen Garrett Cole yet. Marcus Stroman is pitching today for the second time. So Aaron Judge was just in the lineup yesterday. So obviously, as spring training goes on, that's when they start to bring in more of the starters. But to see a guy like Will Warren pitch a couple innings so far, and so far look pretty good, I think that's a great start. So excited to see more of him. And, we're definitely going to need some depth across the board, but especially when it comes to pitching. So I'm excited to see more of Will Warren and see what he can do. Number 3, let's talk about Jason Dominguez, because he is another guy that I know, Yankees fans have a lot of high hopes for. And I would say he's looked pretty good, better in the box than he has out in the field so far. So I don't have his stats in front of me, but so far I think he's looked pretty good for the Yankees, and he's young. Let's not crucify him when he makes a mistake in the field. It is what it is. And this is the point of spring training, right? In preseason with the Giants, we don't expect them to be perfect. It's the time to work out the kinks and figure out the issues. We are 27 days away from opening day. So they still have a lot of time to work through the issues, to get things figured out. And I'm not really worried about Jason Dominguez. I think that ultimately he's going to be okay. And I think that he really needs the repetition. And we saw this with Anthony Volpe, right? Is the more practice time and the more playing time that he got, the more that he improved. And it just is what it is with these young players. it's not the same thing playing in the minors versus the majors. And no matter how great you look in the minors, there's always going to be a bit of that learning curve once you get up to the majors. And that's something that I think Dominguez is dealing with and he's learning about. And I have the faith that he's going to figure it out. And I do have faith in the Yankees coaching staff. They made a lot of changes this offseason, but a lot of Yankees coaches, especially this offseason, got poached to go to other teams. And I think we all know that that says a lot, right? When some of your coaches, thank God it's not Matt Blake, but when some of the coaches are going to other teams and they're getting these great offers, obviously they are wanted and they are wanted for a reason, right? So that is always a good thing. So number 4, let's talk about Aaron Judge because we got to see him yesterday in the lineup and he went 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. So a great start for Judge. I know that the focus again with someone like him and with Garrett Cole and all these starters is that we really just want to focus on them being healthy. But I also think that, Aaron Judge is coming off a tough postseason where the narrative is that he wasn't able to pitch in when it mattered. And, he's an amazing regular season guy, but in the postseason, for whatever the reason is, he just can't seem to get it figured out. And there's been talk, and I think he's even mentioned that it's all in his head. And, I think that's something that's going to be worked on for him, but I'm excited that he had a good start. And I think with a lot of players, confidence is huge and so is momentum. And I think that when someone like Judge and Cole, if they're coming off a bad start or bad play, whatever it is, to be able to have a good start is important and they can continue to build on that. So great to hear that about Aaron Judge. Our last and final thing is going to tie into the Mets a little bit. And I'm going to talk about this on the Mets podcast too, because I think it's a perfect solution for both teams. The Yankees should trade Marcus Stroman to the Mets. The Mets are having pitching issues. They lost 2 of their starters due to injury. And look, Marcus Stroman is the 6th man on a 5-man rotation. He's not going to be a starter for the Yankees. He's talked about wanting to be a starter. He can go to the Mets and he can be a starter right away. And on top of that, he can stay in New York. He can go to a team that has, one of his buddies, Juan Soto, that he's played with before. And I think it would just be a really great opportunity for him. And it's the best of both worlds, right? The Yankees can offload this contract. They can offload this player that they don't necessarily need. We're not really so sure how much they want him in the building or not. And I just think it works out well for both teams. It is a win-win situation. And I also think it's a win-win for Marcus Stroman. And we know that he is a player who is extremely vocal and who's going to want to be really involved in these types of conversations. And whether or not that's allowed, I do think that he would be on board with staying in New York and going to the Mets. So I think that is a perfect scenario. I think the Yankees should get on it. And I think that the Mets should get on it. And I think it's a win-win for both of them. So we'll see how spring training goes. Like I said, Stroman is pitching today on Sunday, so keep your eyes peeled if you're able to watch him, see how he does. And you never know, maybe in the next week, we will hear that he is traded to the New York Mets. Thank you guys for listening. I will be back this week with a longer Giants episode. We have a lot to discuss, so make sure you hit the subscribe button and let me know what you think about these mini episodes. I will keep them up throughout spring training. And then once the regular season hits, we will get into more in-depth episodes. But thank you guys for listening. Be back later this week.